Who's at downtown?
Hello, Your Honor. Good afternoon. I have Garcia Jesse.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, good afternoon. This is Judge Alyssa Perez presiding over the 210th District Court criminal docket for October 4th, 2022. All matters being heard today are being heard in accordance with all emergency orders and directives regarding COVID-19. In addition to that, we are streaming all matters live via YouTube for public viewing. Mr. Marufo, would you call our first case, please?
And it's, may we have Joseph Alvarez?
On his way.
It's the wrong one.
That you, Mr. Alvarez?
Hello? Oh, yes. Hello?
That is Joseph Alvarez.
Mr. Anderson, I think we're going to have some issues with your audio. Looks like you're frozen. Wow, that's really strange. Mr. Anderson, you're frozen, and then there's also.
Sorry, Judge, I'm in my COVID room, so I'm gonna have to get closer to the
I don't know what device you're on. I don't know if you have a different device that might have better reception, because you're completely frozen and the audio is muddled. Well, so we'll have to come back. I'm going to remove him and see if he can't log back in. Let's go to another case.
And it's, may we have Mr. Daniel Valles? He's on page 15, Judge.
Oh,
I don't see.
Okay.
I got you guys. I see you're both there.
Okay, thanks, Judge. We just have one computer.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Maru.
In cause number 2019 0D04292, State of Texas versus Daniel Valles. Announcement of council, please.
Roa King and Michelle Hill for the state of Texas. State is ready, Your Honor.
Veronica Teresa Lerma, Your Honor, and Mr. Eduardo Lerma, we are ready.
Okay, and Mr. Valles is appearing from the jail annex. I didn't recall having set this for a status conference today, but I'm glad I did, because I did see Ms. King, your email, I guess you copied the court regarding the cell phone. So can I get an update from you all, please?
Yes, Your Honor. So this past Friday, we were able to, when the phone went to HSI, they were able to do what's called a partial extraction. And that is an extraction that is what we have already turned into Ms. Lerma and Mrs. Lerma. It is pretty much a extraction that doesn't require to actually getting into the passcode. In layman's terms, from my understanding from HSI, is not everything on the phone is passcode protected. So that amount of data, they were able to extract it. Now the data that is passcode protected, they have already conducted, and it's running through a software called the brute force. And a brute force, what they explained to me is just to have multiple, it's a software that keeps on trying to crack a passcode. In this instance, the phone has a 6-digit passcode. Now, how long it will take for the software to crack the passcode, that is the undetermined, doctor. However, the partial extraction, I believe it's around 9 gigabytes, has been turned in. Ms. Lerma did contact me yesterday. indicating that she was not able to open the CD. So we did go ahead and put it in a USB drive. I also did receive another email today that they were still unsuccessful to try to open the data on that USB. So we went ahead and set up an appointment for her to come and speak to our IT department on Thursday, this Thursday, to see what's going on. And I did offer if maybe I can assist over the phone, see what's going on.
I mean, have they given you any information on, I guess there's no really use of being able, even if it's a partial extraction, if nobody can open the files. I mean, is there a program that they provide you all with to make it available to just, an everyday user, or?
Yes, Your Honor. So there is a program on there, and that's why, I did offer, I can go ahead and walk her through it. I did struggle a little bit yesterday opening it, but there is an instruction on there, a PDF instruction, and I did follow. I was able to open it, and so, but it is a software that comes with the actual extraction because not everybody has. It's called the Axiom software, so it's kind of like Celebrite.
And so then I guess maybe I was too optimistic when I read the email, because I understood the email to say that really we had done everything with respect to the phone. So now I'm hearing a partial, and I guess because what could be remaining is unknown. We don't know what portion of data this is from the phone, anything like that, right? We don't know there's like 60% more information on the phone, nothing like that. Correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Ms. Lerma, anything?
Well, Judge, when I received Ms. King's email on Friday, I had understood that this was the extraction. I didn't know that it was a partial extraction until right now. That would have saved me a lot of probably my entire morning and yesterday afternoon and some of the evening trying to figure out why. The information that I received on the USB is extremely limited, which is the reason why I reached out to Ms. King, because I thought maybe it was me and my capacity and programming ability, because text messages, which I've indicated to the court is what I'm interested in. There are a few text messages, but they're after the date of the event. There's nothing before then. So, I mean, that's not even helpful to me at all. And then I traced back that the phone was receiving text messages by comparing it to text message screenshots that I've seen in Portal between her sister and her and the decedent, and between Mr. Valles and the decedent. So I know the phone was sending out text messages because I compared it to that. So I'm hoping Thursday might give me a little bit more clarity, but now that I know it's a partial extraction, it now makes sense in my world why it's so limited.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, I just went back to the email. It says a copy of the phone extraction for the victim is ready. So I read that to mean it was complete. And so
do we have an idea when we may get a full extraction, or whether a full extraction may not be available from HSA?
Your Honor, when I specifically can't speak on the time, it just from what I was told from the analyst from HSI, Mr. Yanez, is that it just depends on how complex the code is. I mean, it can take, it's something that I can't honestly say with confidence. With subpoena, he is a federal agent, but we can always set up a hearing and have him come in and kind of give an idea to speak on this type of his area of the IT world.
So, yeah, since we are time constrained, I mean, maybe this brings up a good point. The court is probably going to be in trial next week. So where I would kind of love to bring you in on like a weekly status, we don't have a lot of time. What I'm seeing though, is that I do not have basically what would be our final hearing plea deadline before the first special setting. So that we'll go ahead and do that then October 18th. So Ms. Estrada, we need to add an October 18th I'll call it a final hearing plea deadline. We'll do it at 11 a.m. October 18th at 11 a.m. in person.
Okay, Judge, I'll get that set and I will send out notice.
Thank you. Really, it's pushing up to 2 days before our jury selection. So if there's an update before then, I may ask to have a quick Zoom hearing so we can see what's going on here. But I think I recall from the last hearing that understanding the type of extraction that is occurring now, that it's just a matter of whether this program can figure it out or not. And I don't know that we can put a timetable on that. Ms. Lerma, do you have any other requests for now? I know what you all, I can see you all are working on, really, we're just waiting. Really, we're just waiting.
Judge, I was gonna file a motion, and then now with this hearing, I understand it's a partial extraction, so it does change what I was gonna file, but then it also was gonna be dependent on what I'm able to find out on Thursday. Because I wanted to make sure that it's not the user, me, not knowing how to properly or have the proper application. So I probably will file something over the weekend. If the 18th, we could ask Mr. Yanez be present so that we could ask those kinds of questions. And I would also ask the court, to request that the DA continue the extraction in full force, because I feel at this point I've received snippets of information, and I think I'm receiving the full amount of information, and then it's different. So I would just ask, I want to be thorough, and that's why I asked Ms. King for Thursday's inspection so that I can present it properly before the court.
Let me ask, I hear you, Ms. Lerma, let me ask, because it was probably out of frustration that we have these 2 week apart special settings. And now that I'm hearing, again, I read that email to mean that we had a complete phone extraction. I don't have a problem with that being, I don't know if you're going to file a motion, Ms. Lerma, that is going to address that. In other words, to have the agent that is kind of supervising this. We can still have that. I just don't, I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to have that first special setting. Can I have your thoughts on that? And mostly, no offense, Ms. King, but mostly I'm asking Ms. Defense Counsel.
You're saying before the special setting, Judge, to have that hearing before the special setting?
No, the 18th, that hearing I'm good with, because I think, hopefully it'll give us more clarity. What I don't know makes a lot of sense is then having a specially set, your trial being set to specially set 2 days later, because I know I backed it up with a week later. I don't know if it makes sense to do that.
Judge, I leave that to the discretion of the court. We are doing everything that we can to be prepared because we heeded the court's demand on us and your responsibilities. So, my question is, if this is a partial and the extraction doesn't have any text messages, then I'm going to ask the court to have my own expert review the data dump. Whether if the phone was reset, whether the phone was erased, there's a lot of questions that I have. and quite frankly, I spent so much time thinking this was the full extraction. So that's why I'm trying to get everything for the court. If the court is amenable to move the case to November, December, I don't know. But I'm trying to get everything ready for the court by the dates that the court has given us.
And Your Honor, and all parties said, good afternoon. I apologize. I want to clarify that at this point, they still haven't bypassed the passcode. So they're not to the extraction phase yet. In other words, Gray Key, which is the application and the program they're utilizing and using brute force to go and utilize those passcodes to crack into it, they haven't gotten to the portion of it where they're doing the extraction or the per se dump yet. They're in the phase in trying to crack the code and bypass that. Once that's
Okay.
done, the extraction will be done quickly.
And that's informative, but let me be clear. The email that I guess to council and the court was copied on says a copy of the phone extraction is ready for pickup at our office. That is very different than what is being represented today. And then now that you're further clarifying that, I'm not sure how we access this information. I would call it an extraction. Somehow we got in there and got some info, but it's not what's being represented. And that's, the details are important because obviously council is relying on the state's representation that this phone extraction, you read that email to me, it reads that that's the complete extraction. And now we're hearing additional concerns from defense counsel regarding whatever is being done on the cell phone. So I hear what you're saying, Ms. Hill. But then we need to be careful because this, to me, when I saw this email, I was like, great. How much time does counsel need to go through all the information? We're going to be good to go at trial. And if she had any other issues, great. If they had any other issues, we could have said something. But now this is really not much. It's a big difference.
Right.
So for my purposes, I'm going to leave the calendar on this case as is, but for adding the October 18th hearing at 11 a.m. in person. And that will be, I will have it down as a final hearing plea deadline. Ms. Lerma, if you are going to file something, please alert us. We'll include it on that date.
Yes, Judge.
Just make sure you send it to us with an email so I know what we're going to hear. My thought is we will have to bypass the first special setting and go to the one at the end of October. Beyond that, if there is something that council is requesting in terms of relief, also have that prepared and filed. I mean, we're really at the last minute here. And again, I mean, we went through all of this last week at last week's hearing. This is not an item of evidence that we were unaware of. And I think we're getting really not served very well with, in a nice way, I'll call it confusion, but we have this business about the phone being represented to council that the phone was disabled. And, when we're not understanding what those terms mean, and then coming now and finding out, the things that we have with respect to this piece of evidence, it makes a huge difference. So I need you all to be clear in what you're representing, state, because, we go from an understanding that this extraction was completed to now finding out they're still just working on it. So anything that you,
I apologize. Zoom, I'm getting lost in translation. I apologize. I go out and then it overspeaks you. I apologize, Judge. With regard to the 18th hearing, the state may reach out and of course CC counsel for the defense, because we may need some type of order to allow the IT person from Homeland Security to speak. We will provide them with the 2E letter, but sometimes they need additional documentation from the court.
yeah, so we'll need to just assume that we're headed that way. So whatever you need from the court, provide it, because it sounds like we're having a full-on hearing on what's going on with the cell phone.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, but Ms. Lerma is best. I know it's been a little bit, if we're learning something new, I guess, in this hearing. And so just as soon as you can get something filed so that we know exactly who we need to request and what's going on for that Tuesday hearing.
Yes, Judge. I will work on that.
Let me ask no, not my business. Whatever you all have thus far is what you have. Okay, I don't see anything else. I see prospective witnesses. That's it. I don't see anything else. I don't even know if that was after our last hearing. But we'll see you all on the 18th. If you know something ahead of time and need to come back, please let me know. We'll schedule you ASAP.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, counsel. Y'all take care. All right. Did we get Mr. Anderson squared away?
I believe he's there, Judge.
Can we hear you, Mr. Anderson?
I hope so, Judge.
All of that.
Can you hear?
Yeah, it sounds terrible, but we can try.
I was quarantining for,
It'd probably be
Alright.
better without the headphones.
no, can't hear?
We can
So-
hear, but
Mhm.
maybe you can take off your
I'm
headphones.
gonna give it a shot. Can you hear that, Judge?
I can a little bit. Let's see if we can get Mr. Alvarez back. Are
I
you?
can hear you, Judge.
No, that's not gonna work. That right there is definitely not gonna work. So, let me go really quickly to his case because I know it's a motion for continuance before we actually put on the record.
Judge, I've got COVID, and so I'm at home.
Okay,
Mr. Anderson, if you could take off the headphones, that might be better because it's very loud.
Judge, I'll tell you what I'll do. I can do my phone.
I don't even know what you said. So I'm just, for right now, as we're waiting, I'm gonna look.
It's not plugged in right now.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. Okay,
Am I loud?
mm-mm. Okay, in fact, I feel badly about this, but I'm gonna remove it. Okay, I see the agreed motion for continuance. Mr. Alvarez, we're having some technical issues with your attorney's connection. So I'm gonna have this reset once we can get your attorney on board, okay?
Okay.
All righty. Let me see. Is that the only other one you're here on, Ms. King?
And also is Mr. Cepuentes with Justin Underwood.
Okay, so let's put, Ms. Estrada, let's go ahead and put the motion for continuance. I know it's an agreed motion, but there were things that I did want to discuss with counsel. And I did also want to have his client present. So we have November 1st, a November 1st final hearing plea deadline. If we can add the motion for continuance to that setting and do it at the jail slot. So instead of at 9 a.m., we're going to do it at 3 p.m.
11-1 at 3 p.m., Judge.
Yes, ma'am, please. For Mr. Anderson. Oh my God. Mr. Anderson, are you there? He's connecting.
He said he was gonna use his cell phone, Judge.
Yeah. Can you call him and just let him know that we're going to just have the motion for continuance at the 11:01 setting, 11:01 setting. Yeah,
I will call his office and let him know. I believe he said he was at home.
correct. Yeah. Pobrecito. Okay, so let's go to the next one.
At page 12, Judge, annex, may we have Carrillo, Cristobal Carrillo?
Lopez, are you there? Do you see Mr. Lopez? Yeah, there he is.
Cause number 2021-0D01748, State of Texas versus Cristobal Carrillo. Announcement of council, please.
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready to proceed.
Enrique Lopez on behalf of Cristobal Carrillo, we're ready.
We're set today for a final judges conference. Mr. Carrillo is appearing remotely from the jail annex. I have a notation here. We were going to be on the record with our jury trial being November 4th. I will tell you that you're definitely in the top 3 for trial on that date. So where are we on this case?
Your Honor, I think we were going to make a recommendation. Last time we spoke to the complaining witness, and I think it's going to be 10 deferred on, I think, 2 counts of the indictment, on count 2 and count 4.
So that's a new rec, Mr. Salcedo?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So there you have it, Mr. Lopez. I don't know if that's something that you need to speak with your client about, or if you know for a fact that he just wants to go to trial. Which is it?
Yes, Your Honor. Certainly I'll present it to my client. He makes the final decision. That is a new offer, and that's something that certainly we'll be looking into.
Okay. So we have our final hearing plea deadline, if that's a new rec, so you have plenty of time to speak with him about it. In the event that you know it's a plea and he's looking at probation, please don't hesitate. Let's get the plea paperwork going and we can get it set before that date, because he's been in custody close to 500 days.
Yes,
So,
Your Honor.
all righty. Mr. Carrillo,
Yes,
your attorney is going to be out to talk with you, okay? If not, we have our trial set for the beginning of November. Thank you very much. Anything else on this case?
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
Nothing from us, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Who's next?
Middle of page 13, Judge. Annex, may we have Carlos Cifuentes?
Mr. Cifuentes, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In cause number 2022-0D0-1212, State of Texas versus Carlos Alberto Cifuentes. Announcement of council, please.
Robert King for the state of Texas. The state is ready.
Justin Underwood on behalf of Mr. Cifuentes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, and Mr. Cifuentes is appearing remotely from the jail annex. We're scheduled for our 20-1 pretrial motions. Mr. Underwood, did you have anything? Oh,
Good.
hi, Mr. Wyatt.
Hello, Your Honor. How you doing?
My
Okay.
co-counsel for purposes of this hearing. And a great many other things, Your Honor, but we'll discuss those later.
It's a strange view. The Zoom view with him lurking over here is kind of weird. All right. Anyways, so we're set for trial in February of 2023. How are we doing?
So, Judge, we're going to ask for leave of the court to give us an additional 30 days for another 28-1. We are going to file motions for appointments of a couple of experts. As you know, my client is charged with something extremely serious. There are there's handprint evidence in this case. There's also ballistics, what I expect to be ballistic testimony. And so we're going to ask the court to appoint us the experts. I know that the court does not like to sign off on those until we have the identity of the experts that we're asking for. So I have reached out to through my network to find out a couple of experts that we can use who take court-appointed cases and who will travel out to our fair city here in El Paso. So I think I can get that stuff done within the next 30 days. I talked to my staff today. I asked them if they filed the motions, and they said, we're waiting for you to tell us who it is that you need on the names to be put on the motion. So I need to get that to them. So we're going to file those, Judge.
Sure. We have a status conference on November 29th. I think that makes sense to use that as a deadline. It's a little more than 30 days, but
if that will work, Judge, I would greatly appreciate it. We have been working on it. It's just, as the court's well aware, sometimes trying to find a specific expert for a limited purpose is not the easiest thing in the world to do. So we are trying to do that. I did meet with Mr. Cifuentes just last week, or maybe the week before. I went and spoke with Mr. Cifuentes and told him where we were at and exactly what we were doing. So he understands the nature of the motions that we're going to be filing to request the appointment of the experts to assist us, Judge.
what I'll ask with that in mind is, as we get to that January 10th final status conference,
Sure.
We're not quite at the trial yet, but if you could give the court a realistic assessment of if we can actually go to trial on this case, it would help tremendously in terms
Yes,
of scheduling. What I would imagine, if we don't make that February date, I will be looking for a special setting, so I don't want to wait any
Okay.
longer because we'll probably already be looking at the summer.
No problem, Judge. I will certainly
Okay.
let the court know. And like I said, as soon as Ms. King, as soon as I get the names of the people that we want to use, I will file the appropriate motions and list the experts that we're asking for assistance from. I know TCDLA judges also somewhere that I've reached out.
Okay.
People to help. So I will keep all parties posted with what we find out.
Sounds good. Ms. King,
That sounds like a plan to me.
any updates, anything? No? Is there a wreck in this case?
No, right now, Your Honor, we're still kind of working through the case to fairly assess. The co-defendant is, there's a co-defendant in this case, and that case is in the 384th. So,
Okay. Well, we'll see where we are at the end of November. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Judge.
Take care.
Any excuse?
Yes, sir.
may I
Thank
be
you.
excused?
Yes, Ms. King, thank you. Who's
you.
next, Mr. Manufo?
Top of page 13, Judge,
Mm-hmm.
in cause number 2020-0D03257, State of Texas versus Jesse Garcia. Announcement of council, please.
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state. Ready?
Oh, no, it's gonna be bad internet day today. Mr. Hernandez, are you there?
Oh,
Mm-mm. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, Mr. Hernandez? Oh, you're in the
Yes.
courthouse.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm
Okay.
standing outside the 120th.
Okay. All right, I can hear you better now. So let's try that again. So you're appearing on behalf of Mr. Garcia, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Garcia is appearing from the downtown jail. We're scheduled for a a pre-revocation hearing. Miss Carla, are you on this one?
Your Honor.
I was just pulling up the reports, but I was reacting to all the internet things. So let me get this report going and see where we are.
Your Honor, it's fairly easy.
Tell me.
Unfortunately, Mr. Garcia never reported.
Oh, there we go. So do we have a number, Mr. Salcedo?
Yes, Your Honor. 3 TDC on the 2nd and 3rd degrees and 18 months state jail on the state jail felony.
Well,
May I
there you-
respond, Your Honor?
Sure.
Your Honor, I've been investigating this case and I've spoken with, particularly with my client's mother. It turns out all of this time, my client has been at home. He suffers, as the court knows, I'm with the mental health unit of the public defender's office. My client has been in his room all this time, suffers from severe mental illness. I don't know if he's in the mental health unit of probation, but I believe what he actually needed, Your Honor, is something like the FACT program, where they're going there to see him because he is not going to come out. He's not going to communicate because of his severe mental illness. He should have been placed into a program where somebody would check on him on a regular basis because his mother says he never comes out of his room. I mean, he's just in there all the time, Your Honor. That having to deal with the mental health aspect requires a different type of monitoring than just have somebody report whatever period of time they do. By the way, is he in the mental health probation, Your Honor?
You took the words right out of my mouth. No, and I'm going back to look at some of the case history here.
He is not.
So they did, there's a 1622 from September of this year. Let's see. Let me go into the jail. See if we can find something over there. Was he just picked up on the bench warrant, Or did he pick up new cases? I don't see any new cases. No, it's
It's
just.
just the KPS judge.
Mhm.
Your Honor, what I would suggest as an alternative way to deal with this case is to, if the court can give us like 2 weeks or 30 days to screen him for the FACT program. And if that can be arranged, the FACT program, they would come out and see him every other day at his home, make sure he's taking his medication, which is what should have been done before. I don't know. I mean, I didn't represent him before, so I don't know how he got through this plea process without somebody catching the severe mental illness. But given my client's situation, Your Honor, I believe that would have been a more appropriate way to handle it. And I would ask the court to consider giving him the opportunity to participate in probation, but with reasonable accommodations for his severe mental health.
So
Mental illness.
I don't have a problem giving you 2 weeks to come up with a plan. We can have that be, let me just, here. I was not able to see any kind of follow-up on that 1622. I don't know if I'm looking in the wrong place. We were set for pre-revo on the 20th. So we're just going to do another pre-revo in 2 weeks. That'll put us at the 18th of October.
Yes, Your Honor, and I'll check with the FACT program to see if they have an opening.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor. Am I excused?
You are.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Garcia. Is there anyone else downtown?
Yes, Your Honor. I have one more, Your Honor. I have Cigalas.
Cigales?
Yes.
Do you need a minute to get him or is he right there?
Yes, Your Honor. Can you give me like just a couple minutes?
Sure, absolutely. So we can go on to the next one. Okay.
Annex, may we have Roberto Hernandez? Middle of page 13, just second on page 13.
Coming right up.
And Judge, on this case, I do have a note here that it needs future court setting.
Okay. Yes, and we need there's a 2022 case that's notated there that needs to be set at the same time. So I don't imagine it.
Yeah, we just had this hearing this morning, Judge. Mr. Salcedo and I talked about it.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see. So we probably had them and then one was in the morning and one was in the afternoon. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and call it 2021 0D02898 State of Texas versus Roberto Hernandez. May I have announcements, please?
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready to proceed.
And Leonard Morales on behalf of Mr. Hernandez, Judge.
And and Mr. Hernandez is appearing remotely from the jail annex. Defense counsel mentioned that his other case was set this morning and have discussed status. Can you guys give the court an update? What are you all contemplating at this point?
Well, I did get an offer from Mr. Salcedo this morning, Judge. I needed to discuss that with my client since he wasn't on this morning, since it was just a status. I know the court doesn't normally bring the defendants forward for statuses, so I need to discuss that with him.
Okay.
There's also pending a motion for a bond reduction, Judge, which I think Mr. Marufo was gonna schedule. I don't believe it was scheduled for today, but I kind of wanted it set on the on both the new case and the probation matter, as it were. But I'm going to go discuss the plea offer.
Did you email the bond request to the court?
I think we just filed it, Judge. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I see at least I'm looking at the 2021 case, the probation case. I'm seeing that filed on the 28th of September. If you would, please forward it to Ms. Estrada, to Krista Estrada. She's covering for Myrna this week.
Okay.
And if we need to get that set, if this isn't, I don't want to leave without it being set. So also on that, I think we already mentioned it, Ms. Estrada, if we can get the probation case to track the new case, and maybe it'll all be moot and things get resolved. But if not, we have our hearings. Okay.
Very good, Judge.
Thank you very much. The next setting I see is on the 29th of November. So
yeah, I hope it's, I don't think it'll be that long for the bond hearing. I hope not.
No, as long as you send us your request.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hernandez, your attorney will be in touch with you, okay?
Mr. Morales, do you also represent Cigales?
Not anymore. Jesse Herrera took over all of his cases.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morales.
We'll follow up with him. Thank you, Mr. Morales.
No problem, Judge. I trust me, I think I'm about done with Mr. Cigales.
No comment. Thank you.
Bye, honey.
My bag of tricks is empty.
Take care. Who's
So long,
next?
Judge. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Is it Mr. Herrera here?
No, Judge, I'm gonna call him right now.
Okay.
But on page 14, Judge, annex, may we have Tarin, David Tarin?
Judge, are you able to hear me?
Yes, thank
Okay,
God.
great.
You ready?
Yes, Judge. In cause number 2022-0D0-3572 and 2022-0D0-3238 and 2020-0D0-5125, State of Texas versus David Tarin. Announcement of council, please.
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready?
And Myrna Pages for Mr. David Tarin, Judge.
And Mr. Tarin is appearing from the jail annex. We are scheduled in each of these cases, the probation and the 2 new cases for bond hearings. Ms. Pages, you may proceed.
Judge, so I don't recall setting these for a bond hearing. So I'm not ready to proceed on a bond hearing.
Oh, okay.
I did speak with Mr. Tarin, Judge. Let me see when I spoke with him.
What is going on? This is very strange. Why would we have you down for a bond hearing when he's not? Oh, there was a motion to reduce or set bond filed on September 1st. Let me look at that really quickly. Ms. Pages, you filed one on the probation case on September 1st. That's the only
thing. The only thing is, Judge, I spoke with Mr. Tarin. Well, I received a phone call from his mom and then letting me know that they had retained counsel. And then I went ahead and I was not able to get a hold of her. So I went ahead and I scheduled a jail call with Mr. Tarin just to double check the status on that. And he did indicate that they did in fact retain counsel. He told me, let me look here. I'm not seeing the exact date, Judge, but he indicated to me that they had retained Mr. Parra, Manny Parra, and that he was going to be taking over his cases. And he also told me that he had an appointment to speak with Mr. Parra. So I basically assumed that he was going to go that route. I did request for my office to contact Mr. Parra to see what's going on, to see if they were going to file a motion for substitution of counsel, but I don't think that they've been able to get a hold of him. And so I haven't been able to confirm, Judge, but so at this point, I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess if we can ask Mr. Tarin to confirm if that is in fact the case, or.
So we can, but what I can tell you is that in none of these cases, and I'll ask Ms. Estrada, Mr. Marufo to check, has anybody received an entry of appearance or motion to substitute from Mr.
No,
Parra?
Judge, I'm currently going through Odyssey right now and no such motion has been filed.
I don't reflect anything being filed, so unless somebody from my staff has even heard that Mr. Parra is coming in, that might be something that Mr. Tarin is exploring, but as far as I know, public defender is on all of these cases, So my question is, I do have a motion filed by the public defender in the probation case. Do you want to proceed on the bond hearing or not?
No, Judge, I need to, I basically square this away with Mr. Tarin to double check. And he also has a couple of unfiled cases as well, Judge. Think he has still an unfiled, either an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon or an engaging, I'm not sure. But I need to double check because his mom made it very clear that we were not to represent Mr. Tarin.
Mr. Tarin, are you hiring a different attorney?
Yes.
Okay. So Ms. Pages, if you're not wanting to proceed on the bond hearing, then, I mean, you're still on, the public defender's office is still on the cases. So Mr. Tarin, your family, whoever's thinking that they're gonna go hire you another attorney, there is nothing in the court's record that tells me that. So Ms. Pages and her office are your attorney until somebody else comes and substitutes in.
Judge,
Yes,
I spoke with Mr. Parra's office and they say that they did call, but they weren't retained. They were not
Okay.
retained.
so right now the public defender's office is your attorney. If there is something outstanding with Mr. Parra, then you all need to handle that. You're set for a bond hearing today. I'm hearing we're not prepared to go forward. Ms. Pages, if you're not prepared to go forward, I understand what you're telling me, but you need to come back. We don't have another attorney and you need to have the bond hearing. What I will say is that there are not motions filed in the new cases. So there's only one filed in the probation case.
Okay, so let me touch bases with Mr. Tarin and his family, Judge, just to double check. And if he's going to proceed with this, and I'll file those motions on his new cases.
And let us know. Send us an email with your request and we'll get you reset.
Okay, thank you, Judge. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Tarin.
Thanks,
Right, I see Mr. Cigales. Let's go to him. Wait, but Jesse Herrera isn't here, right? Where's
I
Mr.
was just going to say, Judge, on Mr. Cigales, I'm doing some Odyssey research, and I do see that Mr. Herrera filed a motion to sub, and Lenny Morales signed off on it, but they did not file an order, and you have not signed an order.
Okay, so he's on, I don't know.
He's on 2 of the cases, but he is not on one of them.
So we need Mr. Herrera here, so Mr. Cigales can wait. Who's next?
Middle of page 15, Judge. Annex, may we have Vizqueño, Angela Vizqueño?
What?
In cause number 2019-0D05951, State of Texas versus Angela Deanne Vizqueño. Announcement of council, please.
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready to proceed.
Good afternoon, Brent Stevens for Ms. Vizqueño, and we're ready, Your Honor.
Okay, so we are scheduled for a pre-revocation hearing and a bond hearing. Mr. Stevens, you may proceed on your bond hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, my client is on straight probation in this court from May of 2020. It's 4 years straight. 4 years TDC probated for 4 years. A bench warrant was issued in August of 2021, and a motion to revoke has never been filed. My client is 41. She's born in Odessa. She's a U.S. citizen and has lived in El Paso almost all of her life, has been at the same address since before the bench warrant was issued, lives with her mother. I have the address, it's here in El Paso. Lives with her mother, works with her brother at a gym, is single, has 3 children, but they're older, has an 8th grade education. So basically on this, she also has 1622 issues, which if released, we're requesting that she be linked probably through the, screened for the mental health unit. I do not know if she'd actually qualify for the unit, but she definitely needs to be referred to EHN. My understanding is she's not using any type of illegal drugs. She was referred to Aliviani, and I know that Miss Lucinda Guerra was the probation officer and still is, and she sent me an email. I do not know if she's present today. Basically, it was like, she says that there were several, there was a couple of UAs and then admission of using drugs or alcohol in 2021. She was screened and accepted at Aliviani, admitted in May of 21. Miss Guerra wrote 22, but I know she meant May of 17th of 2021. Miss Vizqueño left the facility May 26th of 2021. A week later, they made arrangements for her to go back, but she did not show up. I know that from speaking to my client that there were family issues with her daughter running away, and she felt like she needed to leave to find her daughter so she could provide a place for her to live and help her. Her daughter has since passed away in December. I do not have a death certificate, but I did look for her on the internet and did find that information. My client wants to succeed on probation. I know that once the warrant was issued, she, just went back to, she was living at that same address the whole time. I have filed a motion to dismiss a bench warrant, and the basis for my dismissal is 42A.756, because my client was at the same address the entire time, and no one went to her house during that whole time to contact her, which is required by the code. I'm requesting that she be allowed to stay on probation and finish it. And so that's where we're at, Judge.
Is Ms. Guerra here? I'm looking at the report, Ms. Pineda, and in terms of the recommendation, I don't see a recommendation. I mean, maybe you all are thinking like I am, that we just need a number. But let's go back to the bond, Mr. Salcedo.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I apologize to interrupt. Did you want me to get Ms. Guerra on?
That'd be great.
Okay, sorry about
that. Go ahead, Mr. Salcedo.
Yes, Your Honor, given that Ms. Vizcaíno was placed on probation and she stopped reporting, didn't even go as soon as she was placed on probation, the motion to revoke that I have indicates that she was placed on probation May 12th, 2020, and then thereafter in July, she committed the offense of being in possession of controlled substance. In July, she was purchasing, selling, and consuming. She failed to provide or pay for provision fees, restitution. In July 2020, again, she failed to participate in psychological and or psychiatric treatment. And May 2020, June 2020, and June 29, 2020, in July as well, she didn't do any urinalysis exams. If she was staying in the residence, Your Honor, that's neither here nor there. That's something for a bond, I'm not sorry, for a revocation for the defense counsel to argue, but for the bond, she's not indicating that to us anyway, that she's willing to comply with probation.
Yeah.
She's not compliant. So at this time, we're recommending 4 TDC on the motion to revoke probation that was filed back July of 2021.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Stevens?
Yes, Judge, I would like to request that we could hear the recommendation of the department.
So we'll see if we can get Ms. Guerra. Again, for my purposes on the bond, unless you're asking for that to be part of what I consider on the bond, I don't know that there's anything on the information that they are going to provide that is going to impact my decision on her bond. Are you asking that I wait for Ms. Guerra before I roll on the bond?
No, Judge. I was wanting a recommendation for the,
How
you
we
know-
dispose of the case?
correct.
Okay, so in terms of the bond, she's on straight, tremendous history of non-compliance, and I understand what you're saying, Mr. Stevens, and reasons why, but it's simply too much. I've given her, I think we've had motions filed, dismissed with this idea of treatment. We've gone back and forth. So the request is the bond, or set the bond. She's at no bond, right?
That's correct, Judge.
Well, it's gonna stay the same, and we'll get you set up on our Rebel route. I want to make sure I understand correctly because I'm getting different chats here. There is an open motion, correct?
As far as I can tell, Judge, there is.
I don't think so, Judge. When I was looking at Odyssey, there was a dismissal filed in July of 2021, and I do not see a motion to revoke filed subsequently, but I could be wrong.
I'm hearing two things. So was there another motion filed on August 2nd? That's the one I am not seeing. August 2nd, 2021.
No, Judge, what I believe happened is there's a motion to revoke that was filed back in 2020, August 3rd of 2020. That stayed opened. I think there was a warrant that was filed, I'm sorry, a motion to dismiss that particular motion to revoke. And we have another one that was filed as well.
Yeah, so that's what I need. And maybe Ms. Nieto, can you, it's out of order due to OCA reporting. Okay, Ms. Nieto, can you just tell me what is the date of the motion to revoke that is open now? I'm not sure I'm seeing it actually.
Your Honor, the state's motion to revoke was filed July 22nd of 2021. However, in Odyssey, the active date is August 2nd of 2021. This was one of those OCA reporting issues that we had when we were switching DAs last year. We went from Teresa Garcia to Brian, and there was like motions that were signed way before they were actually filed.
Okay.
So it threw off the timeline, but I tried to put the notes in Odyssey that the dismissal closed a previous motion in order to refile with KPS request. So the motion to revoke is open. It's just out of order because Odyssey doesn't accept. There was OCA reporting issues, but it is open.
So the motion to dismiss, the motion to revoke, as it reflects in Odyssey, we can't rely on the order. It actually relates back to a previous motion. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so Mr. Stevens, if you want to look at that and, if you continue to say that there's no active motion, then we can talk about it. But I think I remember that when the DAs came in, they were having some issues. So we can go back and look at that. Ms. Guerra from probation. I was looking at the case summary on Ms. Vizcaino. I did not see a oh, there it is. Recommendation. My apologies. There's two recommendations. Well, there's two recommendations, so I'm not sure. Let me put it this way. There are two areas that say recommendation. One is filled in, one is blank. So I don't know if one was from a previous time or if this current, you're saying residential screening.
Right.
Was that a previous recommendation or are you saying that now?
That's the current one. I think the previous one was left blank.
Okay. And has she been screened for residential? I'm really not there. I don't know.
She was screened back then in 2021, I believe, and she was accepted. So I had to send the update in, and I've done that.
Mr. Salcedo?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm still going to recommend a 4 TDC in the case. This is too much going back and forth. That she goes in, the court allows her to get residential treatment. She leaves Aliviane. and we're back here again. So even if she goes to residential BHRTC, there's no guarantee that she's going to complete
Right,
that
that she
program.
stays, because she went, that's right, she did go for residential last time and she took off.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to understand, Ms. Guerra, why are we looking at residential again when we always is non-compliance?
I think it was an opportunity to get her stable on her medications, Judge. I think that was a big issue.
Yeah, okay. So, Monday.
I apologize again to interrupt, but I just wanted, for Mr. Stevens, I know he questioned, if she was receiving mental health services, and Ms. Guerra is, the CSO for the mental health, caseload, Mr. Stevens. So yes, Ms. Vizcaino has been in the mental health caseload, I believe, since she started probation.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, so my question to you, Mr. Stevens, is this: do you want another pre-revo or do you want to go straight to revocation hearing? So I can set it accordingly.
If we can have a pre-revo within a couple of weeks, I would like that. And then
Okay.
we can have a contested revo subsequently. I'm not gonna agree to the maximum punishment, so that's not gonna happen. But I would like another pre-revo so I can talk to my client further and then we can visit one more time.
Okay, so we'll also do the 18th, October 18th, so 2 weeks, Ms. Estrada. We'll just do one more pre-revo. We'll do it in the morning though, if that's okay, Mr. Stevens.
Sure.
11 a.m., Judge?
Yes, ma'am, at the morning docket, please. Let's see. Okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Vizcaino. Thank you, Ms. Guerra. I appreciate that. Mr.
Thank you,
Stevens as
Judge.
well.
Can we be excused, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Bottom of page 15, Judge. Annex, we have Williams, Diane Williams.
Yes, sir.
That was fast. Okay. Ready?
In cause number 2018-0D04287, State of Texas versus Diane Nicole Williams. Announcement of council, please.
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready to proceed.
Good afternoon, Joe Rosales here on behalf of Miss Diane Nicole Williams.
Okay, and Ms. Williams is appearing from the jail annex. We are scheduled for a bond hearing. Mr. Rosales, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we had come before the court just a week ago, and we had been discussing the fact that my client has some violations from about 2019. I didn't say that.
It's just some background noise. Go ahead, Mr. Rosales. I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
go ahead and mute the annex. Go ahead, Mr. Rosales.
Yes, Your Honor. There's some violations that my client has that are alleged from 2019. Let me see. I think the probation department had mentioned that they wanted to talk about that, look into that, and discuss it. And then we have some other violations from last year, maybe a couple, and these all allegedly occurred in Montgomery County. And so we hadn't really gotten to the bottom of how those allegations came to be or where that information is coming from. But I did advise the court that I have been in communication with my client's aunt, Rose Painter, and she is a person that my client can reside with. She is hoping that her niece would be able to go back to Montgomery County where she was. And if the court's gonna ask her to get any help for her substance abuse issues, that she can do so in Montgomery County. And she doesn't really have any connections to El Paso, as I understand it. And so really there's really no good place for her here. So I'm hoping the court will take that into consideration instead of bond, so she could go home and maybe order some treatment.
So I do see that the recommendation, well, go ahead, Mr. Salcedo.
Yes, sir. And I'm trying to go through the rap sheet and also the motion to revoke. She was allowed to reside in Montgomery County, Texas. She's been failing to report and failing to comply with that. And so if we send her back, we're going to be back in the same situation. We're going to be filing another motion to revoke, have her brought before the court, and dealing with the same situation. So I think we need to keep a short leash, and if she wants to do treatment, she can do it here at the BHRTC. We have all these violations of failure to submit to urinalysis while she was at Montgomery County. Failure to do the classes as well, and also failure to do the drug and alcohol education classes. I do have a note that probation was to do an assessment, but I'm not sure where we are on that.
Well, I would like an opportunity to get that assessment done because my client does have some reasons for whatever absence she had in Montgomery County, and I think she is asked to address the court. And if she could, I would appreciate the opportunity, Your Honor.
Okay, as long as that's good with you, Mr. Rosales, I'm happy to hear
Okay.
from the client. Let me unmute her.
And I would just remind the court that what Mr. Salcedo is referring to are allegations that occurred years ago. And so I'm not so certain that an assessment right now wouldn't be beneficial to the court to decide if she still poses a risk of flight.
Well, Mr. Flatt, I'm saying that she's a risk of flight. I'm just saying that if she goes back to Montgomery County and doesn't comply, we're back to the same situation that we were back in April of 2019 and 2022. And these are recent allegations as well.
Right.
May I ask my client a couple of questions about that, Your Honor?
Absolutely. I'm going to swear her in though, Ms. Williams. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you provide will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Mr. Rosales.
Thank you, Your Honor. In March of 2019, which was, I guess, several years ago, there's an allegation that you hadn't yet paid off some of your costs and that you were not submitting to urinalysis testing. Can you tell the court what was going on in your life in 2019, 3 years ago?
I did not have a job yet, but me and my aunt had worked together so that we could get those funds paid. They should be paid by now. My aunt talked to Sandra, which is, I guess, your assistant, and we're trying to get that fine paid to wherever it needs to be paid to.
And Your Honor, I can attest to that fact. I believe that all of the financial obligations my client had have been resolved. But can you please tell the court what was going on in your life besides that? Because they do say that you didn't submit to certain testing a few years ago. Can you tell the court what was happening 3 years ago?
I'm not sure about 3 years ago. I've always gone to all of my, I paid the $20 for my drug.
Let me stop you real quick, Ms. Williams, so I can surprise your attorney. That what they're reporting in the case summary is that she failed to submit 22 times to urine tests. Those are all the way up through June of 2022. So I don't know that I have a full list, but there is that. And then there are also failures to report in 2021. So just keep that in mind, please.
Well, I was asking my client about 2019 before I got to 2021 and 22. Do you know why you failed to report in 2019?
I didn't think it was a failure to report. I thought that it was, they had tested positive. They told me that it wasn't, I didn't test positive for anything. They just told me that it wasn't that I didn't do something right, or I'm not sure what it was, but that the lady sent me home and told me that I would have to come back the next day. In Montgomery County, you have to call in a hotline every single day. And I did that. And they only had me going in there once a month, but every time I would call the hotline, they wouldn't have me reporting. And I talked to my PO, Stephanie Thompson in Montgomery, and she's had me on, like, I've reported with her up until I got arrested in July. So I don't know why.
So if we were able to call Stephanie Thompson, she would, from Montgomery County, she would say that you were doing a good job reporting like you should have?
Yes, she gave me a paper as to when, because COVID happened in that time. So the drug testing place in Montgomery County wasn't open.
And Judge, at this point, Judge, I'm going to interrupt and object. We're here for a bond hearing, not for a contested hearing.
Well, that's true. And I would like to address that if I could, Your Honor. We're not here for a contested hearing, but the issue here is that Mr. Salcedo is suggesting that my client shouldn't be released to Montgomery County because if she does, she'll go back to doing what she was doing before. And what I have her saying here is that what she was doing before was, in fact, calling a hotline every day and reporting to her PO as she should have in Montgomery County.
Well, but part of that reporting, according to the case summary, is that she admitted to using heroin in October of 2021. She was told to go test. She tested positive No, I'm sorry. She didn't go test. She had received some treatment back in 2020, but she needed to go test so they could start this treatment, and she will not go test. So we have a problem. She's using heroin in 2021. She's coming up dirty. So all this stuff about I called and I paid and, you got to call into a hotline is kind of circling around the fact that she's got a drug problem.
Actually, Your Honor, I had addressed that initially, but Mr. Salcedo kind of took me down the road that we're on now. I had said that last time, as I was saying at the beginning, Ms. Pineda had told us that they wanted to assess her because they thought she had a drug problem. She said that at the last hearing, and I believe that she probably should get some treatment. I was just simply asking the court if you could do that in a way where she could go home, where all her family ties are, her connections are, so she could get treated for her problem. That's where I started, Your Honor.
Okay, so what are you asking me for on the bond?
I'm asking the court to release her to a PR bond, and I would ask that she go back to Montgomery County with orders to go inpatient treatment or outpatient treatment, as whatever the court thinks is appropriate. And when I say inpatient treatment, I'm saying that the court may determine after an assessment that that's what she needs. If she needs outpatient treatment, well, I'm sure she would prefer that. But all I'm asking is that she get treatment and she get it in Montgomery County.
Ms. Pineda, has she been screened and accepted into BHRTC?
Your Honor, she was assessed by TAP, and the recommendation was for her to, for BHRTC. They are pending the final screening for BHRTC.
Okay, so in terms of the bond, that request is denied. I agree she needs residential treatment, and I want her to do it here, Mr. Rosales. We're not gonna go her way on this treatment. If she is amenable to treatment, in lieu of doing something else, she's gonna do it here. So I want her screened for BHRTC. Let's get her on the list. Let's get the treatment going. If after that, we don't have any problems and we get her on track, I absolutely am not gonna put you in a situation, Ms. Williams, to set you up for failure. But I am also not gonna send you back to a place where all I see is a lot of non-compliance. If you got an issue, I'm gonna get you the treatment. We're gonna get you squared away. If after that, you do great, wonderful, make the request, go through your attorney, go through probation. But if we have problems, you're not going back. Okay.
So, Your Honor, if she is successful in BHRTC, and this is an alternative that I was hoping for, if she's successful in BHRTC, do we have to file another motion for her to be transferred over there, or can the
Yes,
original?
because I
transfer
want to
be
make sure
revisited, Your Honor?
I want to make sure I have an understanding. I want to see her after she comes out of BHRTC, and I want to make sure we understand each other, that whatever may be recommended at that point, maybe there's some ongoing treatment, that we are on the same page, because I don't want to come back if I let her go back and find out after a year that we have a bunch of violations.
I guess I was asking more of a procedural question. That she was originally transferred to Montgomery
Right,
County.
it's not an automatic that she goes back. So we're gonna have to come back.
So I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, so she had previously been transferred, and so I don't know that order was rescinded. So can I just set a status hearing to come back and the court can already decide without a new motion to transfer? And if there is a new motion to transfer, would that have to be filed by the probation department, or would I have to file that?
Carla, would we need to restart the process for her to get transferred out? Yeah, it's a new process.
Yes, Your Honor. Her case due to the non-compliance was closed out.
Yeah.
She is now here, so her case out there has been closed out. If
I
she were
understand.
to be released and we want to initiate that whole process, we have to start over with the whole, the transfer process, her case being accepted again and
Understood. So I would have to file a request to transfer. I understand. Okay, I got you.
and keeping
Thank
in
you very
mind
much.
Montgomery has to accept the case.
Thank you very much. We'll do a status in 30 days, Carla, to see where we are on the screening and if we've already got our place to go on to BHRTC.
Oh, and Judge, may I ask a question? How long is BHRTC so I can kind of track it on my calendar?
I think it may depend on her performance, but it's anywhere from 6 to 9 months. I tend to say the 9-month, Carla.
Yes, Your Honor, it's around that time. It's a time, case by case, depending on her treatment progress and all that.
So can I request a status hearing maybe in about 6 months to see how she's doing?
Sure, but we're coming back in 30 days.
Got you, Judge. Appreciate it.
Your
Thank you
Honor,
very much.
do I
Yes,
send
ma'am.
notifications now or are we waiting to be screened? Because we should have,
Go
we
ahead.
should have some kind of, like, if she qualifies or not, we should have something within the next week or so. I'm not
So once
sure.
we have that, if she's screened and good to go, then just send me the mods.
Okay. Okay, let me see if I can transfer something for her to sign now, just in case.
Mhm.
Because I do need her to sign some documents, so let me look into that.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor, may we be excused?
You may. Thank you very much. Who's next?
Your Honor. On page 13, Judge,
Mm-hmm.
downtown, may we have Cigales? In cause number 2020-0D00784 and 2020-0D00048 and 2019-0D01599 and 2021-0D01702, State of Texas versus Andre Cigales. Announcement of council, please.
Javier Salcedo, Assistant District Attorney for the state, ready to proceed.
Your Honor, Jesse Herrera for Mr. Cigales. And Your Honor, I just want to apologize to the court for not being online earlier, but I was just told I just barely drove home and I got to go pick up my little kids. I pick them up on Tuesdays and my secretary told me that you wanted me online. I never got a link, neither did she. I didn't even know you had signed the substitution order yet. And I apologize.
Well, so I don't know when the cases were set. No worries. You're here now. My question is, though, Ms. Estrada, maybe you can help me on this. And just for purposes of the record, Mr. Cigales is appearing remotely from the downtown jail. That my docket reflects entries or motions to substitute on cause number ending 48 and 1599. But I don't see them on 1702 or 0784. Ms. Estrada, can you tell me, maybe my docket's not updated?
Judge, I am also reflecting Lenny Morales as attorney of record in Odyssey for those cases. It does look like Mr. Herrera filed the motion to substitute, but did not send the court an order.
Okay, so I need you to double check, Mr. Herrera, because I don't show you as being subbing in on all of these cases, and please provide the proposed order. I think these are all the probation cases and we have new cases. Is that right, Mr. Salcedo?
That is correct, Your Honor. There's a smuggling of persons, an abandonment or endangering a child, and an assault family violence competing for us.
On those yet to be indicted, correct cases, are we showing Mr. Herrera as the attorney of record on those cases? Can someone tell me?
I can try to check, Judge. I don't think there's anyone appointed on those yet.
Well, you're not appointed, Mr. Herrera. You've been retained, right?
Yes, Your Honor. I was retained.
Okay. And were you aware, you're aware of the new arrests as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
The new cases? Okay, I'm trying.
Yeah, I don't have every number of the case, Your Honor. Like I said, I just drove home and I was about to go see my little kids and then they told me to get on real quick. And I apologize, I don't have my tie on, Judge.
Okay. And so I know Ms. Reyes is here.
Hi, good afternoon, Judge.
Hi. Okay, so before we proceed on any of those, I mean, we're only set for status hearings. Sounds like we got a lot to work with. So I am going to reset. Let me see, Mr. Cigales, Ms. Estrada, are there any future settings on any of the probation cases we have, or is it just probation status today?
Sorry, I was on mute. Let me take a look, Judge.
On the few that I've checked, I don't see any. I'm going to reset the probation status hearing for 30 days. Mr. Salcedo, I gotta think they're recent. He hasn't been out. That's what I was gonna look at. I feel like he wasn't out very long.
No, Judge, he was released in May this year.
Yeah. So.
Judge, I'm not seeing any future settings for the probation status cases.
Okay, so on all the ones that we have, 30 days, we're gonna reset the probation status. Mr. Salcedo, if you will get into looking at where we are with those new cases so we can have hopefully everything at the same time. Mr. Herrera, I need your motions to substitute with proposed order emailed to my court coordinator so we can get you appointed.
I'll do that right away, Judge. Thank you.
Not appointed. get you on the case. Thank you very
May I be
much. Y'all are
excused?
excused. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you, Judge.
Reyes.
Thank you,
Thank you, Honor.
Judge.
Who's left?
I believe that's it, Judge.